Hi, welcome to Living Clean Podcast, the show to help you feel good again. I'm your host, Bonnie Wilderson-Hayes. I'm a speaker, certified holistic nutritionist, and founder of Living Clean's healthy lifestyle transformation and nutrition programs. Each week, we will destroy myths and share the truth about the food you are buying and consuming, and provide insight into the best food programs to avoid slowing you down. My purpose is to help you enjoy food again and finally achieve the results that you want. I believe that everyone deserves to enjoy mouth-watering, good-for-you food that doesn't send you running for relief. Now, let's get started. Hey everyone, it's Bonnie Hayes, your host for the podcast. This week we're going to talk about the emotional toll that unresolved health issues have on us. For those of you who have already received the diagnosis of what your food allergies are, any sensitivities you might have, your chronic ailment, an autoimmune disorder, or an inflammatory condition, you've kind of already made it through the discovery process. But you guys remember that process, and I know I remember it well. Granted, my issues may not be as severe as some of yours, and you know that it really does take a toll on you. You're going from doctor to doctor, and you're getting this test and that test, and at some point you just feel like the anesthesiologists and the nurses are basically just vampires taking your blood and drinking it, because they're taking so much blood and they're just giving you non-answers. There's inconclusive this. Numbers aren't showing up to be able to prove anything, really, from a functional perspective or from a biomedical perspective in your standard medical offices. So what do? You've got to figure out what the problem is, and in the midst of all of that, frustration hits. Despair, sadness, grief, and at some point, every one of us has sat there and said, fuck this, I give up. I don't know what I'm doing. I can't find an answer. Nobody has an answer for me. And here's what I have to say to that. There is an answer. It is going to be frustrating. It is going to try your patience, and it's going to try to really break you down. But there is an answer somewhere. It's just a matter of finding it. So what do you do to get there? How do you make it through that process to the point where you can get an answer? Well, I have told you guys about how I first discovered my dairy allergy. Well, what I did not tell you is the things that happened before and after. So before I was diagnosed with my dairy allergy, I really didn't have too many stomach issues. I would have gas here and there, and sometimes it would clear rooms. Other times it was no big deal. I remember I was eating pizza with my sister, and it was just plain old cheese pizza from the regular delivery place down the street. And I had one slice, and I swear it was one of those silent but deadly moments, and neither she or my brother-in-law were in the room, so I figured I was safe. I was wrong. She totally called me out, and I was so embarrassed I ran upstairs and hid from her. So, things like that, they happened a few times. And then following my dairy allergy, obviously I could not have yogurt anymore, and that's really what I use to balance my stomach and to keep my probiotic levels healthy, is I use probiotic yogurt or kefir or something along those lines. It was one of my favorite things to have every day. Obviously, the minute I started the elimination diet to figure out what allergies what foods I was allergic to and reacting to, that went away. Well, that caused all sorts of issues in my little tummy. I would basically walk down hallways and walk down streets and toot the whole time. Sounded like one of the little kids' choo-choo trains, pop, 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 pop. No control whatsoever. I would have very loud outbursts of it that would rumble the bench that everyone was sitting on. Sometimes it would clear rooms. Sometimes I was very grateful that people were not around. My stomach would be very, very, very loud and always seemed to rumble at the quiet moments in the middle of client sessions or a group training that I was having. Seminar was the worst. Every seminar I taught, I swear, the minute the audience and everybody got quiet just for that one moment, my stomach would do something. And I know I'm not alone, but when you have things like that and you don't have an answer, I thought I had an answer. I thought I figured out what my issue was. And since then, I have been able to use various nutrition and herbal preparations, I guess is a good way to say it, but mixtures that has balanced my probiotics. But I really didn't know what the problem was. And I really thought I had an answer for my food allergies, and I was going to move forward and everything was going to go back to normal and no big deal. And that's not exactly what happened. It's been 5 years since the dairy allergy. I mean, my weight's gone up and down. And I'm still having episodes of stomach issues. Granted, the latest report that I got for my allergies has actually answered a number of questions. And thankfully, by eliminating the foods that are on that list, my stomach is very happy with me, and we no longer carry the band with us everywhere we walk and we go. The uncontrolled issues with my stomach and my digestive system, the tooting and the smelly gas and, the grumbling in my tummy and things like that, I haven't had that in the last week and a half. So things are getting better, but that discovery process is pretty frustrating. So I wanted to give you a couple of tips of what to do if you're dealing with things like that. First and foremost, the best tip I can give you if you are having stomach issues like that, lemon and ginger are going to be your best friends. The days that I did not have my lemon and ginger tea or put lemon in my water, my stomach was out of control. So if you are having issues like that, get some fresh lemon, get some ginger, and start making some water and some tea. So that'll help tummy issues. But what about your mind? And that ultimately is what is going to help us with this emotional toll, because the body issues, we can laugh about it. I can laugh about it today. And my husband and I kind of joke about it here and there. But, in reality, it was embarrassing. I didn't want to go anywhere. And I am a social butterfly. I thrive on being around people. I didn't want to be around people because I was embarrassed, and my husband, he and I had just started dating. And here's this guy listening to me have all this crap coming out of my stomach that is loud and noisy and just, it was so embarrassing. And that takes a toll. It takes a toll on your emotional state, on how you perceive yourself, how you think others perceive you. So a couple of the strategies that I learned along the way that really helped me retain my sanity and as much of myself as I could and really kind of just come back to the basics are things like a gratitude journal. I used to make my clients do them all the time, and I still do. If you work with me, you will have to do a gratitude journal. Basically, at the end of every day, you write down one positive thing that happened, one happy thought, whether it was that the dog smiled at you, the kids did their own laundry, or someone somewhere called you beautiful. You don't know who it was, but they called you beautiful, and it made you feel good. Those are things that you want to put in your journal, things that remind you of the positive during the day. Eventually what happens when you continue to do that is you start seeing the positive in your day without realizing it. You have trained your subconscious to stop looking at the negative, stop looking at the embarrassing, and start looking at the things that really make life worth living. And it's amazing when that shift happens. And if you're not a journaler, if you're not a writer, if you're not someone that really does well journaling, a gratitude journal is perfect because you only need to write down one thought. You could do some meditation. There is something called the Calm app, and there's quite a few apps out, but I like the Calm app. You can choose from a 30-second, a 1-minute, to a 5-minute. You could do a 10 and 15-minute. If the Calm app tells you to close your eyes, it dings so that you can open your eyes. And on that note, meditation kind of clears your head. It forces you to focus just on your breath and to clear your mind of whatever your worries are of that day. You can take your meditation practice into a yoga or a Tai Chi or a Qigong practice. These are all activities that are very slow and determined, and the basis for them is more of a therapeutic approach. It's not about the exercise that you're receiving from that, it's about the spiritual renewal. So when you're practicing your meditation, if you're having difficulty with it, if it's something that you want to try and you're having difficulty with it, go take a yoga class or find a Qigong or a Tai Chi class. And you can usually try one of those for free. If you go into yoga, there's something called restorative yoga, and what that is it's holding specific positions with help from blankets and blocks. And it's more about a meditative state and focusing your breath on restoring your spirit and relaxing your body. These are things that will help restore your health. When you relax your adrenal system, the things that we stress about don't seem as bad. So taking a restorative yoga class or meditating for 10 minutes, these are things that are going to decrease your stress levels. They're going to restore your adrenal activity to its normal quiet state, and it's going to let you see your reality, because all of us see reality differently, but it's going to allow you to see your reality as a less intrusive reality than it was previously, less harmful, less stressful and less of a strain on your world. Getting a massage is a great way to do that as well. And really, if you look at massage and you look at yoga and Tai Chi and Qigong and meditation, if you notice, I keep coming back to breath. Well, oxygen helps feed our muscles. It helps. There's something in Chinese medicine that I read recently that said, oxygen feeds your soul. So essentially, deep breathing allows you to bring extra oxygen into your brain to settle what is happening. That, along with the movements and the positions of yoga and Tai Chi and Qigong, those kind of force your brain to realize that you're supposed to be in a relaxing state, and basically tells your subconscious to stop being so stressed out. You're not losing your life, you're just dealing with something right now. Our subconscious sometimes needs a little time out, and that kind of gives it a time out. There's another couple of things. I used herbal tea and wine like it was going out of style. Lemon balm tea, if you have a glass of lemon balm tea every night, eventually, and it usually takes about a week, you start feeling more relaxed when you go to bed. A glass of chamomile tea, lavender and honey, even some of the ginger teas will help kind of relax you. Just get into that habit of making a cup of tea and sit and relax for a few minutes. Let the kids go to bed and just sit in a quiet space and drink your tea. Finally, have you heard of happy foods? I'm a nutritionist, so I kind of always go back to food, and we know this, but happy foods are the foods that make us happy. They're the foods that trigger our happy genes. And that, I'm trying to find a scientific way of explaining this without going through the basically 10-20 minute lecture that explains it. Foods like grapefruit, apples, grapes, and pineapple, when we eat them, they make us happy. And this is a scientifically proven fact. Basically what happens is the molecules that are in these foods are designed to give us a little boost of energy, but not enough that it causes a crash. So that little boost of energy actually increases and improves our mood naturally. So have you ever noticed that if you eat the right amount of calories, not overfull, just perfectly full, you feel really happy. Your mood feels like it just kind of lifts you up a little bit, and you feel like you're walking on water half the time. If you have not had this moment, I encourage you to listen while you're eating at a meal. It doesn't matter which one. Just pick a meal that you can eat in quiet and eat a little bit at a time. And what you will find is that if you eat just exactly the right amount of food, you are happy. Your ghrelin and your leptin, the hormones that basically are in charge of giving you satiation and hunger signals, are in agreement. So that means they're quiet and you don't have this, I am hungry. No, you're not. I'm hungry. No, you're not. Going on. And that's what happens when we get hungry, is we have this argument between the leptin and the ghrelin, and one thinks they're right and the other one isn't, and all of a sudden we end up hangry because we haven't eaten enough. And, when you're dealing with trying to figure out what is happening with your body and trying to find a solution so that you can just move on with your life, you don't need to deal with that. So make sure you've got some healthy, happy foods in there, and really pay attention to your diet. As long as you're hydrated and you're feeding yourself a healthier diet, even if you don't know what your sensitivity is yet, if you're feeding yourself a healthier diet, your body has more micronutrients and solid macronutrients to run and function well. And I'm not just talking about the vital systems, I'm talking about all the other systems as well. Emotional is not necessarily a vital survival instinct, and neither is reproductive. If you look at what happens when our lives are threatened, our reproductive system shuts down first, and then our emotional triggers shut down. You kind of go numb. And there's no reason that needs to happen if what we're trying to do is just figure out what is happening and find the root cause, so we can give you some strategies and some tools to keep it from happening again, or to manage your acute symptom outbreaks. So keep all of those things in mind when you're trying to get through. And, I know it's rough, and I know some days you just don't want to deal with this. You don't want to hear me say this. You don't want to talk to anybody else about eat your happy foods and go meditate and do this and do that. You don't want to hear it. I get it. Those are the days that you go and you do something for yourself. For me, it's being in water. My favorite thing is to go to the ocean and relax and just sit and be with the waves. Other times, I want to go listen to music and forget that anything is wrong with my life. So whatever your desire is, when you hit that day that you're just like, you know what, I'm over this. I don't want to hear you tell me to meditate. I don't want to do yoga. And I certainly don't want to eat healthy and eat happy foods. I don't want to pay attention to that today because it's not helping me. And we will have that moment. Each and every one of us that has reached a diagnosis has had that time. And when you get there, just go and take a break. Whatever that means to you, let loose, throw stuff, go take a kickboxing class. Trust me, pounding on something is amazing therapy. If you need some more suggestions, or if you just need someone to talk to who understands and you don't have anyone in your world, reach out. I'm here. I know I have a lot of other professional friends who would be there to help as well. So I hope this was valuable information. Let me know what y'all think, and I will talk with you soon.
Thank you for listening. Did you love this episode? If so, share this with a friend or someone you think would find it helpful. Leave a review on iTunes, Anchor, Stitcher, or Google Play, and let me know your honest thoughts, questions, and takeaways. Not a fan? I'd still love to hear your feedback. Disagree with anything you've heard? I would love to hear your experience on social media. If you feel like you're still struggling with your health goals, send me a message or check out livingclean.com for details about our nutrition and well-being programs for busy lifestyles. Stop struggling and start enjoying food again. See you next time.
The podcast you just heard was published with Anchor. Got something you want to say to the creator of this show? Send them a voice message using the Anchor app, free for iOS and Android.